Hey everyone, welcome back to ECRC. On the workbench today we have an original Kyosho Ultima from 1986. This is kit number 3115. This is mostly original. I did make some changes to it because I do want to run it and I want it to be reliable and look good, and I don't want to have to baby it and keep it on the shelf. I'm kind of not like that. So anyway, I'm going to show you some video on how I actually got to this point. It's not going to be that much different than my other rebuild videos. I soak all the hardware in cleaner. I scrub all of the parts with a toothbrush and some dish detergent because that really breaks down a lot of the grime. And I did have to replace a few parts. So I'm going to take the body off now and let's get into this car. All right, so let's just take a look at this quick. I'm only going to show you the things that I changed. Those of you that are familiar with Ultimas, it's very, you guys know it's a very basic car, but it's very lightweight and nimble and fast. That's probably why they were so popular back in the day with racing. But that being said, this is actually a real great car. Even now, all these years later, I did run this a few times. It is so much fun to run, and it does seem like it is going to hold up. Well, at least the way I drive. Let's take a look at some of the things I did. So here in the front, I was able to source brand new arms. These are brand new original arms. I was very lucky to find them on eBay. They were literally $9. These are new. These shock caps here always break. These two, believe it or not, held up and are the original shock caps. The ones in the back are from a re-release Tomahawk, I believe, or the Scorpion. I actually don't remember what I purchased. But it's you basically get the parts tree and that's on there. So obviously one change you can see is I did put the re-release wheels on. These are very bright white as opposed to the original ones that were more of like a tannish white color. So I just get some new tires for it, and I didn't want to get the original OT66s. Yeah, it would look great, but these just run better on all surfaces if you ask. Well, that's my opinion. If you're running on like loose dirt, yeah, the original OT66 spiked wheels, those are great. They grip really well, but these are good for dirt, sand, asphalt, grass, anything. Also, I did find a car finally to put my Le Mans 240S in, and I have to say this is the perfect car for this to be in because it's fast enough with a 2S lipo, but not too crazy fast. It's very smooth. The gearbox is very smooth. All the gears are in great shape. Now, I didn't make a video of me refurbishing this, but I did. I put new bearings in it and new brushes, new contacts, new cables, and this thing is just perfect. So yes, the shocks are all original. The front upright support was bent. I did have to bend it back. They do bend pretty easily in a crash, but we're going to try not to do that. Everything else on here is all original, all the hardware. I do have the original electronics. I did not want to use them. They were in pretty poor shape. There's no reason for me to do that. This is not 100% original. If I was trying to restore one to be 100% original, I would use the original manual speed controller and the electronics, but I decided not to do that. I went with my Fly Sky remote. Obviously, I can pair all my cars to it. I have a Savox servo in there, and in here is a Hobbywing 1060 ESC. Also, these battery straps. Someone on eBay was selling the original Kyosho ones for $18. So I bought these, which is a package of 6-inch, 8-inch, 10-inch, and 12-inch reusable zip ties for $9. And from what I can tell, they're almost identical to what was on there originally. Now, one thing I didn't talk about or didn't show was the body during the rebuild process. I didn't want to film it. It's basically just a little bit of paint. I used Tamiya Bright Red. I believe it's PS34. I could be wrong because I figured it would go well with the orange and the yellow, which it really does. I didn't want to do the box art, the white, because everyone does white. I just wanted to do something different. I was able to get this body and wing from Team Blue Groove. This is not an original one. I do have the original one, but it is a little beat up, and I did not want to sit there trying to remove all the paint and repaint it all. Team Blue Groove makes good quality. They're actually a little bit thicker, very easy to cut, very easy to work with. I also got some MCI decals. Basically, you're only putting a few decals on this. There's not a lot of space on the body. So this is MCI, this is MCI. This is an original Kyosho sticker, and I believe this one is also, the Bridgestone is MCI, and these are MCI decals. I did use the re-release stickers for the driver figure, for around the driver figure. I did paint the driver figure myself. I just used the stickers for his helmet and for this part of the, I guess, the interior of the body. And I think that came out okay. I'm not a huge driver figure painter, but with some of the Kyoshos you don't have a choice. It's part of the body. Okay, so let's get into the rebuild. I'm going to show you the video now. I did record it separately. I'm recording this in parts, mostly because I just haven't had the time. This was quite a rebuild, and it did take me a very long time, even though this video is not going to be that long. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Let me know what you think. I love the Ultima. I've always loved the Ultima. It's one that I've always wanted, and I'm glad I have it now. This one is definitely going to stay in the collection. So I'm going to add the rebuild video in now. Okay, enjoy the rebuild, and I will talk to you guys before the end of the video. Hey, so here we have the first car that I purchased, and this one is missing some parts. It is really kind of gross, and looks like it's been run a lot and never been cleaned. Here's the body for it. I am not going to use that. There's lots of cracks. The wheels and tires are in very poor shape. So you can see the reason why I need a second one. And here is the second car. And this one has more parts, has more hardware, but is also missing some things, and some parts are broken. So there's the first car broken down, cleaned up. Chassis and the shocks have to be cleaned here. As you can see, this one has the top deck. It has all the original electronics. It did come with a radio and transmitter. And this center gear here is actually a good center gear. So this is one of the parts that I was missing with the other one. I'm not going to use the original vintage electronics. I'm going to modernize it here, as I'm sure you saw in the intro. I'm not sure what's going on with this bumper either. This bumper almost looks like a homemade bumper, but it was probably purchased somewhere. Somebody was making aftermarket parts for this, and I'm not going to run this. One of the cars has the original bumper, so I'm going to use that. And you can see here also one of the front arms is severely broken. Let's turn it upside down here and look. Yeah. So I do have 3 good arms. And you'll see, as you saw in the intro, I did purchase a brand new set, which I'm going to use. So I'm going to start breaking this car down now and getting it ready to be cleaned. As you can see, it has almost all of the parts except for the front bumper, the one broken arm, all the spring retainers are broken on the shocks. But this one does have the top deck. Also, the front upright is really bent quite a bit. The other one has a much better, much straighter one. These shocks are also in very poor condition and don't have the seals. When I took these shocks apart, there was no oil in them and the seals were missing. Anybody that's rebuilt Kyoshos or worked on them, you know those little clear seals that are kind of a pain to work with, those were completely gone. So I only had one set of seals. So here we have the hardware and everything else ready to be scrubbed down and cleaned and inspected. And you guys can see why I also had to change my yoga mat and get rid of the blue. Yeah, this thing was blown out pretty bad. Somebody really abused this thing. Okay, let's get these parts cleaned up. Okay, this is everything ready to go. I do have lots of parts to choose from. I'm basically going to go through and pick the best parts to rebuild this. And my sexy Le Mans 240S, can't forget that. I did buy all new bearings for it. So let's rebuild this diff first. As you can see, I use nice thick grease. I'm using the Tamiya anti-wear grease. Here's the diff all rebuilt, ready to put the drive cups on. Now we're going to get into rebuilding the gearbox. And here it is completed. Nice and smooth. Nice and clean, all lubed up. Now we build the uprights for the rear. This one's nice and straight. And here it is mounted onto the chassis itself. Now it's starting to come together and look a little more like a buggy. So far, everything's going together great. I'm actually quite happy I bought 2 cars because I wouldn't have been able to do this without it. I would have had to hunt down tons of parts and it would have taken me forever. So the rear arms, bearing carriers, this is very simple the way it goes on. Everything was in great shape. The dog bones are nice and straight. Now with the shocks on, it's very smooth, feels great. Now we're going to get into the front steering knuckles, the front upright. Let's get this built and put on the car. Apparently the front bulkhead breaks a lot on these cars. I have 2 of the cars that look like they were really kind of beat up, and both of them had good bulkheads. So we're going to get the steering going next. Here's the front with the shocks, the front shocks. Again, nice and smooth. I did use a very lightweight oil. It is a light car, so it's not necessary to have, you know, something too thick. And we're going to get the steering going. The steering is very smooth on this car and very accurate. There's not a lot of play, and it does just kind of, you know, move on these 2 metal collars that go around 2 long screws, but it actually works well for this car. I'm really quite happy with it, especially one from, you know, this era. And this is before I put the brand new arms on, so the front arms are still old ones from one of the old cars. Got my Hobbywing 1060. I did eventually put a Dean's connector on it. And here we have the top deck and the wheels on it. So pretty simple build. The hardest part was really gathering all the parts and cleaning everything up. You can see my Le Mans motor on it. And it came out fantastic. I'm really happy. It's got all the original hardware, as you can see, the right screws, bolts, everything.
Okay everyone, that's my video on the Kyosho Ultima. Hopefully you liked the rebuild. I know that I didn't get too detailed. There were some things that I had trouble with. So, you know, sourcing these, that kind of was a problem for a little bit until I found like ones that were exactly the right size. So the center gear is very difficult to find. You can't find one unless you buy a car with one in it. They're just not spares out there. People do 3D print them. I guess that's a reason why. But I don't trust 3D printed gears, especially if I'm using like a little bit hot of a motor. I'm gonna keep this Le Mans in there because this thing is pretty quick with it in it to begin with. I don't want to go crazy with it. I don't want to break this thing, and you know, I will drive it quite a bit, but I don't want to break it. So that was the biggest challenge, finding that gear. So that's one of the reasons why I had to buy a second one. Also, the top deck here, a lot of the cars that you see online or that, you know, that are for sale, a lot of them don't have that top deck. They're broken. You can buy fiberglass replacements, and that's what they used back in the day because they were a little more rigid and strong. So a lot of them were modded, and people got rid of the plastic one for the fiberglass. So I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of the cars don't have it. This one was caked up everywhere. This must have been raced quite a bit, used. It definitely was on like clay tracks back in the day, because it was like that hardened clay stuck in like every single screw head and every little nook and cranny underneath the grease and the dirt and the dust. There was like that clay. So definitely watch out for what you're buying. This one I'm definitely keeping, no doubt about it. I love this one. I love how it came out. I love my Le Mans motor. I love how it looks. I love how it handles. And I would definitely recommend picking one up, even if it is the re-release. The re-release one is even better. And yes, you can use some of the re-release parts on this, but not all of them. And so, for example, if you want to use the top deck, well, you have to get all the hardware also from the re-release. If you want to use some of the gears in the gearbox, well, you have to take the entire gearbox and all of the gears. So, you know, there's some limitations. I wanted to try out Team Blue Groove. This is my first Team Blue Groove body, and I'm quite impressed. And they actually gave me an extra body. They actually gave me an extra body shell because there was a little bit of a crease back here. And I think that's the reason why they gave it to me. Right back here, there's like a little crease, like a little line. And to be honest, once it's all painted up, decals on it, you would never even see that. Never. If I use that one, you wouldn't know. So it's great to have a spare. And they're fantastic like that. Even MCI, they've sent me extra decals here and there. Sometimes I'll order one of something and they send me two. So I'm really happy with what they provide, the service they provide. So I was happy to support them also and buy the reproduction body shell. And there's one more thing that I did not show you that I want to show you. Hold on a second. Okay, so I was able to find front and rear shocks for a Scorpion, a 2014 Scorpion. So they are exactly the same as these. They're the same size, same length. I think that these might be a great addition. You see this here? That's like a silver. The original one is more like a tan. I like the silver better. I just think it matches better with this, with the top. And I thought maybe if I do the silver shocks, it would match a little bit better. It does have a little bit of red to match, but most of the shock is all in silver. I might do that, I'm not sure. I figured why not pick up a set of these. So you might see this back in another video with some upgrades, we'll see. But anyway, thanks for watching everyone. If you haven't subscribed, please consider it. I do like to make some videos here and there. I'm not someone that's going to put out videos every day. I do have a lot of stuff going on in my personal life. I do have a regular job and, you know, kids and everything else, so it kind of prevents me from making videos as fast as some of these other people that, you know, do these, that make RC videos. But I really enjoy it. I love the hobby. I can't get enough of it, and I'm going to continue doing this as long as I can, so hopefully you guys can subscribe and help me out. Alright everyone, thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. Eek!